Hey everyone, hello. Get my chat open. I hope everyone is having a great day, great weekend. And as usual, I'm excited for this talk. So, body guilt. I want to know, and as I usually ask when we open up these kind of calls, what the hell does body guilt mean to you guys? When you see that term, body guilt, what does that mean to you? Tell me in the chat. What is body guilt? Because I think a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how much work there is in the setting ourselves up to even get to the point of seeing changes happen, or seeing that if we see changes happen and it goes backwards, that we can still figure out what the hell happened and then do it again, because that would happen no matter what you were doing, right? But what stops us from looking at ourselves as like a problem to solve, like a puzzle to figure out, a prototype to perfect over time. We kind of just look at ourselves like defunct. So let's see what you guys are saying. Shaming yourself for the way your body is, feeling shame existing in a bigger body, feeling guilty about our physical appearance, feeling guilty that I'm not making progress more and faster, feeling like failure after a weight gain, guilty over what my body physically can't do, and guilty for being bigger, feeling guilty for not being how other people want your body to be. Yeah, it's like, but then if you think about it, what are other things that cause guilt, right? They're heartfelt things. They're things where if you unintentionally hurt somebody, or saying no to helping someone, saying no to plans, disappointing people. It's like, but why does that feel the same? It's a very similar feeling, that feeling in your gut where it's like, I'm wrong for this, I'm bad for this, I'm not doing it right, I should be, almost like we should be alone, or we should be, lost cause, depending on how far down the spiral that can go for you, but when would you think, well, before we skip to that point, so loving your body along the journey sounds great, but that's not reality. I think, just with everything that comes with hating our body for so long, having such a rigid standard that we have to meet, that we expect nobody else to meet, but we demand it of ourselves. But that, all of that, that's important that we acknowledge that self-love just isn't going to happen out of thin air. It's not going to be either you love, like, I love my rolls, or you're a negative person. That is such bullshit. That doesn't fly here. So, and I'm sure you guys, whether you're new or whether you're a vet with me, you know that by now, is that shit don't fly here, right? So what can we do along the journey if loving our body is going to feel so weird and foreign that it almost makes us resentful? It's important to come up with a truce. It's simply about living a life where you don't give a shit what your body looks like. And when I say that, living a life where you don't give a shit what your body looks like, what do you guys picture yourself looking like? Honestly, when I say I don't want you to give a shit what your body looks like, what do you feel like that's going to make your body look like? Because I know we talk about this a lot, but I thought that, discipline and being realistic about my body and all of these things, like being so rigid, I thought if I let go of that, I would just go off the rails. I wouldn't care anymore. I would just be like this slothly type figure that just like has crumbs all over them all the time and just like wants to sit and eat and not talk to people. Like, truly, I know I'm not even being dramatic. I really, that's what I pictured. And then I thought about this. Would I want that? If I didn't care what my body looked like, would I want to be sitting there with crumbs all over me, feeling awful and like I'm gross? No. I wouldn't want to just be eating all day. Like, maybe, you know what, you let yourself go off the rails. That's not going to last long. The allure is going to die down, like, and you're just not going to want to be sitting on the couch feeling like shit all day. And that's what kicks in. Not, oh, I better get up off the couch because I want to be skinny today. Like, that's not what gets us up and going. So we think that we need to have this rigid discipline of ourselves in order for us to get where we want to be. But that's literally what screws us out of getting where we want to be. I don't know what's happening with the lighting of this Zoom. I hope it's not distracting anyone. It's like getting light and dark over and over. But anyway, so This takes a while for us to start seeing our body changing. It takes a while for us to feel like because our body is changing slowly, maybe it's not. We're not staring. Think about how many times you've seen those of you who have been with me for a while. You finally send me the damn pictures, right? And I make that collage, and you're like, but I don't get it. I didn't notice that, right? Why? Because you're looking in the mirror every day. Your eye doesn't have a memory. It's not going to remember like, oh, my thighs looked slightly curved in this one, and now they're more straight. And again, if you're slightly curved or they're more straight, what does it fucking matter? Pardon language for any kids that might be listening to this very riveting Zoom. But what does it truly matter? And we don't see those things. So what happens is when you have a long journey, when you have an illness that depends on your body getting all of its shit together, basically, before it can even begin to metabolize properly for you. If we're harping on the timeline of what we're supposed to see or supposed to do, blah, 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 it's going to feel like we're failing all the time because I don't know who decided to lie to everyone. There is no linear set amount of weight there. I don't care if you're healthy, if you have a perfect metabolism, if you eat like shit, whatever the case may be, there is no way for anybody to know the rate in which someone else loses weight. It is a complete fallacy. How do I know it's a fallacy? Why would it be a multi-billion-dollar a year industry? You'd run out of clients eventually, right? And yet, on all your stops along the way, what number diet or attempt is this? So those rules that we thought we knew, with those ways we thought we knew that we would beat ourselves up for not following, literally don't work. And it's not just us. Do you know anybody who has, even without a metabolic issue, who has lost a tremendous amount of weight and maintained it for at least 5 years? And I think Kathy, if you're watching, this is like the one person who knows someone that has maintained that kind of a weight loss. And even if some of you do, compare that to the amount of people you've seen lose a tremendous amount of weight and gain it back. Regardless of metabolism, regardless of illnesses. So if our body is slowly changing, but we feel like it's not, we're literally going to screw ourselves out of continuing to let that slow, but still there, momentum build. My clients surpass me all the time in weight loss. Some do, some don't. Some of you guys have been working with me for like 3 years and we're still trying to figure out this part of the puzzle. That is okay. It took me years. I am a slow weight loser, truly. It's been like 2 years since the start of the pandemic where I had gained that weight. And like, I'm not doing anything crazy. Why is that? I haven't given a shit what my body looks like this whole time. And hey, I'm not laid out on the couch feeling like I don't give a shit about the world around me. And I'm just like with chip crumbs on my sweater, and it doesn't mean I have to harp on the way I look. That's not the alternative. So to be able to have long-term consistency, to make anything stick, that means we have to have patience with ourselves and not look to be smaller or have these little things that we feel like are milestones that we should be able to be hitting to deem if it's good or not, worthy or not. So what are some ways that if we were to take the way our body looks out of the equation, what are some ways that would make you feel like at least your metabolism's turning on, at least your body's waking up, at least it's healing a bit. It's not in this state of like shambles. What are some things that you would personally look for if we were to remove weight from the equation? And really be honest, don't put on that list, the things I think you want, the things you think I want you to say. I want to know truly, what would be some good clues coming from the inside that if you continue being consistent, and some of you might say, I honestly have not been consistent long enough to tell you, and that's okay. You're still on the Zoom or you're watching the recording, which that means you want to fix it. But what clues would you look for that would let you know that your consistency is actually paying off? It's moving the gears. What would be a big thing that would change for you and how you feel every day? Or even how you look, not for nothing. When you're happier and you're not like, people can tell when you're in your head scrutinizing your body. When you are mid meltdown and you think that you're there and you're just like, and inside you're like trashing yourself. People can still pick up on that. So how could you feel? How could you look that you feel like would be a good clue that things are moving the way you want, even if the size is not changing. Solid bowel movements. There you go. I wish them upon everyone. More energy, less aches and pains. When I go out and have a day out and don't feel bloated and gross. I had a staycation week after being sick and had a couple worth it moments, but didn't feel sick after those rare worth it moments, or bloated and got to walk after without exhaustion. Less napping and crashing midday. I look at how much I need to nap, how often I have joint pain, and how quickly I recover, because sometimes you can't prevent it. And my hair growing back. Absolutely. And that was going to lead me. That's a good thing to bring up. My next point is, when you have illnesses that are incurable and they flare, this is why I bring up illness acceptance so much. This is a lifelong thing. And that might sound long, sad, difficult, but it is. If you try to live a life like you don't have a chronic illness that's never going to get cured, or you know what I mean? Like if you try to avoid that fact, yes, it is a very tough existence. But if you start to build that illness acceptance, that self-forgiveness, the truce with your body, you can then learn how to accommodate these flares, learn how to recover without feeling like that's it, everything's going downhill. That is so important for continuing to be consistent, is when it's not linear for anyone, like I mentioned, but especially not for us. Stress can affect us. And there are situations in life that are just stressful. Like we can't, the Dalai Lama would get stressed in them, but being able to get through all of that, being able to have worth it moments, being able to have consistency in how you're feeling. If you put the work into being okay with being consistent in those things, the body itself will change. It has no reason not to, So let's see. When's the first time? Let's share in here. When is the first time you had body guilt? I mean, if you can't remember like the first, what's the first standout memory of a time where you had body guilt? 6 years old, second grade. This could be the way you look, the way you like your shape, the size, whatever. It could be an illness. I grew up chronically ill. When I was younger, I was 7 when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I remember nobody had an illness. Like it was me and one other kid that had asthma. And we like linked up because we were the only 2 kids who understood what it was like. And even in the surrounding districts, like it was crazy. There was like no allergies, no real illnesses in our area. And I used to actually teach a lesson once a school year. I would like get up there on a stool. Who would have thunk I'd end up here? But, and I would teach the whole class about what a pancreas is, what insulin is, what diabetes is, and everyone was just like, wow, so growing up like that, you're going to face differences, like I hated the fact that I needed to take a break to eat something when I was already a big kid and I was a type 1 diabetic. And like, here are these other kids out at field day, running their asses off, having such a great time, playing and just being kids. And then I'm like drinking juice and eating snacks as like one of the biggest kids in my grade off to the side, and like for me, that was huge because before that, yeah, I mean, I faced some differences, but I don't know. I kind of found like I had some pride in my diabetes. It was weird. But then when I started getting like 5th grade and beyond, where we had a lot more physical activity, or it kind of would show up things I couldn't do as much, or I needed to leave in the middle of a standardized test because I ran a blood sugar, like a low blood sugar. Those things, they all had to do with me being in a larger body. But the guilt that I experienced from just overall feeling like I was wearing my illness, feeling like nobody understood. It was my job to make people get their eyes off of me and stop paying attention to me, and that's a lot. That if you don't, you grow up, it only gets worse with a big body. People are cruel. So let's see what you guys are sharing here. 6 years old, second grade, when I was young in elementary school, not sure age. Elementary school, as a small kid, just walking in the room at school, felt uncomfortable. I got told the reason I went low is because I didn't eat enough vegetables when I went low. I'm sure somebody with a fully functioning pancreas instructed you that way. which is my favorite personally. So yeah, body guilt is kind of just rife, it's everywhere. So when, whether it's from the illness spectrum of things, whether it's the size spectrum of things, whether maybe you didn't grow up hating your body, but then all of a sudden things took a turn and you're living in a body that you don't recognize whatsoever. And you try to do the most extreme things you can do to get control of the situation. And it's for naught. It's, does nothing. Either way, it kind of makes us not be able to be present if we're like that, right? How many times have you been in the middle of a wonderful memory, or what could potentially have been a wonderful memory, and it feels like your brain cannot stop locking on to the way you look right now, or to the way other people look right now, the way you wish you looked right now. And you're missing out on that. You're never going to have that same day with those same people and those same moments ever again. And I know you feel the weight of that. Otherwise, none of you would be on this, So who affirmed that you should feel body guilt? Who in your life? And it could be intentionally, it can be unintentionally, it can be because they thought they were helping, or because it's just your own interpretation of society, whatever. But growing up, who helped affirm that you should have body guilt in your own opinion? My family, doctors, teachers, arguably people who never experienced the same thing. Family, bullies in school, other kids, doctors, my mother, kids in school, doctors. Oh, it pisses me off that doctors are in there, but 100%. Doctors congratulated my eating disorders basically my whole life. Like if I lost a lot of weight quickly, they're like, you don't feel like you're suddenly sick or anything, right? And I'd feel like I'm dying, but I'd be like, no, I'm fine. And they'd be like, okay, then great job. The things that we're doing were so unhealthy. I was on the brink of diabetic ketoacidosis all the time, because I would just be cutting back my insulin and cutting back what I was eating and all of those. And none of the doctors looked out for that, which is, by the way, a classic thing to look for with type 1 diabetics is to watch out that we don't use that, but doctors were usually the one trying to push me to eat less, despite how little I was already eating. Family, my grandma, doctors, peers, mom, aunt, doctors, kids in school, even someone going through the same thing as me. Yep, absolutely. So why do you think it's, now we've talked out kind of who's affirmed this for you, who's said you should be this cruel to yourself, right? Even though none of that has ever worked, even though none of that has arguably ever worked for the people yelling at us, right? How many times have you had a heavy doctor, you have a heavy family member, someone that struggled with their weight, someone that's lost it and gained it 1,000,000 times over, no one that should be teaching us anything because really walk the walk. Or how about some long, lanky doctor who's been a 28 waist his whole life? It's just, why do any of these people have a pull on what our experience is, when obviously sitting around eating yodels all day ain't the problem here? So that being said, why do you think it's important for the work you put into this to be geared just towards making a truce with how you look? The most important work you'll do in this, if there's one thing you focus on, the most important thing would be focusing on this truce with your body looking the way that it does. Why do you guys think that's important? You've heard me talk about it this whole time, but in your own words now, after kind of fleshing this out more, why is it important? And I wanted, as you guys are writing that, I want to tell you a little story too. The other day, I ran a low blood sugar, and now I have a whole system set up where before, those of you with insulin issues in here, when you're running a low blood sugar and you're like, why am I ravenous? Why do I want to eat everything? That is your biological response, get your blood sugars up. Type 1s, it's I don't want to, it's crack. We are just get me food, because it's literally we'll die, So it's always a common issue with type 1s to overtreat. because before you even get a chance, it's like you eat till you start feeling it. And by that time, you're just going to be flying high the rest of the night. So I have, the little Smarties. They're like the roll of candy that came in like that variety. It's like old people like it, but I love it. I love Smarties, my favorite candy. They're like 6 grams per roll, and they take a while to eat them. If you eat them one by one, it's like a way to pace yourself. So what I'll do is if I'm under a certain amount, I have 2, under a certain amount, I have 3, and then I wait and I recheck and stuff like that. So the other day I was being lazy, so I didn't go check my blood sugars, but I felt low. But what I was feeling was not my low blood sugar. It was being out in the sun all day. My blood sugars were a little bit elevated than they should be. And I figured this out when I tested after I ate them. So I just straight up ate 12 grams of sugar for no reason. I ended up having to take more insulin to accommodate the candy I didn't really even want or need. I just thought I was running low and I was outside. So I was like, oh no, retreat, but in the past, oh man, that would have felt so defeated. I would have been like, here I am just trying so hard, blah, blah, blah. And this is what happens. I can't win. I don't have to assign that narrative to it. Shit happens. It's hard dealing with this, so what am I going to do? I'm going to be okay. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. And wouldn't you know it, I'm okay. So when we have that kind of feeling towards the body forgiveness, when we're not living in constant fear that every little thing we do is going to make it worse, guess what we give ourselves flexibility to do? Do things that feel good for our body without hatred, because generally it's going to be okay. If like 90% of the time you're doing, you're taking care of yourself, you're on the ball, we're all human beings, that 10% of the time you're going to be fine. Let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, I always press the button to make this thing move. Fat camp suggestion killed me as a kid. Yep. Doctor suggested that my mom send me to diabetes camp and then said, never mind, they're not intended for weight loss. So I'm like, yeah, I don't need friends, right? I don't need other diabetic kids in my life, right? I just got to not be fat. Okay, because I need to, sorry, I'm skipping right over this. If we can let go of the trauma of hating our bodies, we can finally move forward. Yeah, because I need to work with my body, not punish it. I can be neutral with my body and I'll be rid of so much unnecessary stress, so much. Defining self in so many other ways besides weight is so important. The external appearance is just one small color in the stained glass window that is a person. I love that, an analogy. I love it. I'm more than my appearance. Absolutely. You're so much more interesting than the way you look. All of us. So because I can't change anybody else's opinion on me or my body, but I'm the only one who has to live in this one. So I might as well feel good in it as is. Absolutely. And if you remember, I mentioned this lately, especially going into the summer, you're going to hear this all the time. We do not take good care of things we hate. If you feel like you should, if you feel like you have to, that's going to make you assign a time frame that you have to hit it by. And if it doesn't get hit by that time, throw it out the window. But that is going to keep you from consistency. A truce with yourself is saying, either way, I'm going to figure it out, right? Like either way, I'm going to do the things I can do, and have a blip, I have a blip, but I got to live these days anyway. So I love these thoughts, these feelings. We do not take good care of things we hate. Nothing we absolutely can't stand do we go above and beyond to really give the most gingerly loving care to. And yet we say we're always putting other people ahead of us, right? But how much harder is it to serve those people that we innately want to put ahead of us if we're not functioning and we're not strong and we're not sustainable and all of those things? There's so much more that by the time the body gets there, and by the time you look at the outside and say, okay, what time is that? Like what time frame is that? How much work are you going to put in, to think that that's what you got to do to get there before you can be like, I'm doing well, like you got to look a certain way. Good luck getting there. So to change this and to let yourself stop getting in the way, I have a few points I want you guys to write this down. If you're not, we're going to put the meeting minutes in the comments on the page, on the Facebook page, so it'll be all transcribed. But I want you guys to write this down as it pertains to you. There is something about writing things down I think makes it stick more. Okay. And I'm going to say it, and I know I speak fast, so I'm going to go back and say it again. Okay. So if it feels fake or wrong or impossible to not hate your body because you've spent X amount of decades being told a certain thing, feeling a certain way, saying a certain thing to yourself, right? But realizing that those things do not help. It feels fake, wrong, impossible to not hate your body because you've spent X amount of decades believing a certain set of things that has never helped. Powerful shit, right? So maybe we have the people around us who don't understand. Maybe we have people around us who think that they understand and they really tragically don't. Maybe, we have past disorders, we have past trauma, we have, all whatever it is that we have. It all starts with a decision to learn how to feel differently. Nobody is going to hear this Zoom and get off of it and be like, that's it. I think totally different now. It's a seed. We're planting a seed. I say this, every Zoom is a seed that's planted, where I hope over time, as situations present themselves, you have the opportunity to be like, that's what she was talking about. You might have to rewatch this again and again, but it all starts with a decision that if you're naturally not good at having that bond, that truce with yourself, but that's what you're learning. That's what you're trying to be able to do. It takes time. It is not easy to just reprogram decades of the same inner dialogue of how the foundation of who you are as a person. It is not easy to just change that set of beliefs. Why? Because you hear something cool and relatable on a Zoom, and I don't expect any of you to. But it only feels fake, wrong, impossible to give your body the forgiveness and acceptance that it needs because you've been believing a certain thing for decades. So I expect you to hear this and try with all your might to feel like this is true, to work towards the point of feeling like this is true. It won't be right away, but if there's one thing you put work into, let it be this, just wanting to learn a different approach, and it will happen in time. I have a little challenge for you guys, a little picture challenge. So this might not work right now for you guys with your time frames if you're not like going out or you don't have any plans or anything like that and events coming up or whatever. But if there is a situation coming up with a lot of pictures, the summer, they seem to pop up a lot more. Graduations, so I want you guys to use the smallest mirror you can. You're going to freak out at me, but try it. What do you have to lose, right? I want you to get the smallest mirror you can find and use this like to fix your face how you want, do your basics, your basic grooming or whatever. And then I want you to look for an outfit you like the way it looks, make sure it's comfortable, and then leave your house. No mirrors besides the compacts. You can just tidy yourself the way you want, and no pictures. If someone else, and I know a lot of you guys are probably like, no problem on the pictures, but this is where the challenge comes in. I want you to go and I want you to have fun at this event. I don't want you to look at yourself before you go. I don't want you to check yourself out once you're there. I don't want you to do anything that is going to have the events of that night hinge on how you look, because it will not to anybody but you. Nobody else is going to enjoy your time less if you look like you're 10 pounds heavier. Just you. So if there's pictures, the opportunity for pictures at this party or event or whatever the hell you're going, I want you to take one. I want you to take one with your partner, by yourself, whatever, with your kids. Don't just take a picture of the kids and have that count as you forever now, but I want you to do it and I don't want you to look at it. Ask them to not tag you and send it to you tomorrow. And that's this way. The next day, after you would have gone, you would have enjoyed your time. You would have had fun. You would realize that that's exactly what have happened, whether you like the way you look or you didn't like the way you looked. If anything, you probably would have had a much worse time because you would have been nitpicking or you would have felt like nothing was good enough when really all you got to focus on is, am I comfortable? Am I able to have a great time? Scary shit, right? But What does it matter? Literally. If you got like something about Mary friggin' like, thing on your ear or hair like this or whatever, like someone's gonna tell you, I would hope, where you're going. If you're like, fix yourself, but like there really is no logical reason to just go enjoy your night regardless of the way you look. It is the most freeing experience, truly. One, you end up looking better than you thought, because you know why you look awkward in those pictures, because you're sitting there sucking your gun up into your gut up into your friggin' throat, and like hiding behind grandma, and like trying to balance on one foot with a prom arm, like, so of course it's going to look awkward, it's not going to feel great, and then you're going to scrutinize the shit out of that picture. But someone goes to take a picture and you just grab like your partner and take a picture, or you just like, I don't know, smile, throw your hands in the air, like do whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I guarantee you're going to look so much better in that picture than if you were some stagnant, like, God, I hate everything right now, vibe. Work up to that. What do you guys think? That chat's silent. What do you guys think about that idea? I'm sweating and I'm in the sports bra and I don't want to be in a sports bra on Zoom. It's a little much. Not that it matters for the whole bra thing, but I just feel bad. Like, you guys pay for this, right? Like, you probably shouldn't be stripping on screen, make you pay more. So what do you guys think about the picture challenge? Feelings it brings up for you. Who's down to try it? And it's the mirrors beforehand too. So it's not just avoiding pictures. I want you to go for the pictures. I want you to avoid the mirror. I want you to pick out clothes you like the way they look when they're not on a hanger and not on you. You like the way, they feel comfy. Go have a freaking blast. And then see the fact that everything's okay. I know a lot of people probably aren't going anywhere for a while. I have so many clients who are sick this week. It's crazy. But if you are going out, let's see, I've got a birthday party with family and friends. I'm going to do it. Hell yeah. You will literally it is like life-changing, because it doesn't matter. And if you go somewhere where it does matter at one point, you never want to go there again. We're not defective because we enjoy ourselves in certain situations with certain people and we don't with others. We're allowed to trust that feeling. We're allowed to be selective on the situations that we're in, regardless. Like, listen, I come from immigrants. My husband does as well. The family guilt is so strong. But if there's ever an environment that you truly don't feel comfortable being in and you can't see yourself ever really, letting loose, then I would really evaluate if your presence there is necessary, because no one really deserves to absolutely be jumping out of their skin seeing people. I don't care what your genetics are. So I know that was like a little off the beaten path, but just as an aside. Let's think. I'll try my daughter's graduation this week. Yes, that's a big one, right? Can't think of anywhere I'm going, but the next couple weeks I expect to. There you go. Could be big, could be small, whatever. I'm dressing up for the Renaissance Fair this weekend. I want a picture, even though I never take pics, but I just won't look at it till way later. Yeah, go and just take the picture however you feel like you should. Don't try to pose. Don't try to do the whole, like, just be authentic, be present, enjoy yourself, because that is what's going to show you, like, I can do that. No matter what size my body is along this journey, I can still enjoy myself. Graduation as a teacher and visiting family over Memorial Day weekend for this exact reason. So I hope this helps. That sounds like a good idea, especially since I'm that person that picks my photos apart more now than ever. Last summer, I also hid in the back and remember hiding behind family members to hide my body. I did get a pic of me the next day after kayaking, and it did feel better because I didn't get to pick it apart and ruin my mood for a period of time. Yes, it was like an action shot, right? Like, it was a real picture. So many people are like, is it the Body Connection Zoom? I used the sunrise or sunset analogy, where let's say you see this gorgeous sunset and you're like, I got to take a picture. I got to show everybody this gorgeous sunset. And you take the picture and it's shit. And it looks like muddy and gray. It doesn't have any of the colors that you saw when you were looking at it. You don't look at the camera and go, wow, I guess the sky is shit. I guess it's not as nice as I thought it was. No, you saw it correctly. The camera did not reflect it correctly. When we are doing those weird poses where we're contorting our bodies around, trying to hide behind things, blah, 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 it's not even like we don't even look as bad as we end up looking, but it's the camera lens, the way everything is distorted, things, all of our camera lenses are distorted. I mean, it's how this can take an entire panoramic, so like this little camera. So just keep that in mind too. Action shots are always better because you can tell like you were doing something. It wasn't like you were just sitting there like, oh, wow, look at me looking large. It's like, oh, look at that photo of me on a kayak, So number 3, everyone's favorite here. You're going to love me for this. Journal, but I'm going to give you a prompt. Okay. I love journaling because it is for absolutely no one else but you. So it doesn't matter if you jot down just words that make no sense, if you put whole sentences, whatever the hell you want to do. But I want you guys to write out who you want to be. All right. So write out who you want to be, how you want to feel, what you want to do, anything you can think of. But I need you to include one thing. In this list, I want you to include someone who is not only happy, good company, or feeling worthy. Someone who is not only happy, good company, or feeling worthy if they're a certain size. Include that in your list. That does not mean you're not going to focus on your body. That does not mean you're not going to focus on the reason that your body looks the way it does. That does not mean any of that. It just simply means that your happiness, how worthy you are, all of the shit that you would tell literally your best friend, your most loved family member, a child, right? Tell it to yourself. That shouldn't hinge on a size. Okay. I want you to look at this every day. Look at this list, print it out, write it out, whatever. Look at this list. And I want you to ask yourself, if in a situation where you're talking to yourself like shit, is the way that you're talking to yourself, would that ever help a child grow up to be what you wrote on that list? Would a child who was spoken to the way you're speaking to yourself, would they grow up to be the person on your list? The answer is most definitely going to be no. So that's just a prompt to get you to journal about it. Whatever that brings up in you, whatever that connects to. Again, you don't have to show anybody this. This is just for you to kind of give your brain some extra space to like work stuff out. That's why I love journaling. It's like an extra set of hands, so to speak. I don't know how to describe that, but that works in my brain. So, lastly, I'm just going to hoorah around this and see what you guys think. This is work. I could be telling you to only eat lettuce all day and then hike it out on an elliptical, go do the Stairmaster for hours a day, right? And that would be the work that we're kind of used to being told to do. We don't do that here. And if ever you feel like you're not doing enough, if you're still having a mindset issue about this stuff, contact us. Talk to us. It's not just about telling yourself, cheer up, don't think like that. And and that's going to be it. That's going to fix all the years that you have of talking to yourself like shit. Don't just hear this one message and think like, oh, it's all good. This is something we work on. Remember, you're making the decision to work on this, to learn it. So this is just as much work as hiking it on a Stairmaster and only eating, kale. This is the different version of work, but it's hard and you need to be diligent with it because it allows everything else to work better and may become easier in the long run. So I wrote here, I got wordy, but I think it was good. What will lead to the outside changing is empowering the inside to believe it's okay no matter what. Otherwise, we're stuck on the roller coaster. But if you put effort every day into mindset, you will see how your actions lead you down a different path into a different body without all the noise and bullshit distracting you. thoughts on this before we jump. Biggest takeaways. I want to hear some feedback because I feel like it's whenever we do deep topics like this, I'm like, I hope I didn't trigger anybody. I hope some people feel good about this. And going into the next week, I want you guys to feel empowered by this message. So tell me what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Give me some feedback before we jump. And of course, always welcome to text with us. I love feedback. I love that convo even after the fact. So whether you're watching with me live now, or if you are going to be catching this recording, whether it's me, whether it's Evie, Sophie, Juliana, Caitlin, whoever it is, I want you guys to be able to reach out to us and use this as a springboard for how it pertains to your life specifically. Biggest takeaways in the chat. I wish I had like the dots for when people were typing. I always feel bad ditching out. Tell me in the chat, biggest takeaways from today. What's going to stick with you most before we hop off? I haven't been to a Renaissance fair in forever. They had the best pickles. Some dude walked around with like a barrel full of pickles all the time. And I remember I was like, they cannot be beaten. They put him on a stick, just walking around. It's like a chubby little kid walking around a Renaissance fair with a pickle on a stick. I want that image framed somewhere. It's definitely work. It helps to have these weekly Zooms to refocus and keep reminding me each week that I'm working on myself and mindset in a big way. Yeah, I love it. I love it. You guys know me by now to know I'm not a big like push you to do something you don't want to do kind of person. Like that's just not my style. But I love when you guys watch these Zooms because, you know, I don't get anything extra, let's face it, if you guys watch or not, but I know that they link up to different situations in your day-to-day. I use our calls to know what the hell I'm going to be talking about that weekend because of, you know, I want to talk about what I hear the most. So, you know, I'm proud of you guys, whether you're watching, sorry, that was a big ass hair on me. Whether you guys are watching live or you are catching the recording, I'm proud of you guys for putting in the time to listen to these and be a part of them. So I want to hear more of this feedback, but I want to continue these conversations and I don't want to keep anybody on here. So if you're in the middle of typing, before I exit out of here, copy and paste it. All right. Because after Jacqueline's comment here, I am going to close it up. Okay. So it makes my brain wander off into areas I think are sort of related. That's the intention. I love it. Sometimes I go in and out of my mindset and it makes me think more about habits I used to do, like getting myself ready and making myself feel pretty with clothes I liked. And I realized through the group chat that I need to get back to finding my authentic self because I deserve to be creative, and trying to dress to hide is me not being kind to my body and blocking my healing. Yes, it's part of that truce. That's why I mentioned before, don't look at how the clothes look on your body. They look nice. You like the items themselves and they're comfortable. Wear it. You know, because that you want to feel connected to yourself. I used to walk around and be like, do I have a fupa? Because like, I don't know, I'm like one of those women that are just cursed to always have like a camel toe. It is what it is. It's just how I'm built. So I'm like, I used to be so self-conscious about it. I couldn't wear joggers. I didn't want to wear anything that accentuated that, you know, or super high-waisted pants unless I had a shirt to cover it. And now I'm just like, dude, stop staring at my crotch if you don't like it. Like, I like these pants. They look cute and I spent my money on them. Like, what do you want? You know, just, so people don't like it, they don't like it. And that's exactly it. You've got to be authentic to yourself. You're not, what's our body ideal here? A Jenner, right? So it's either Jenner or hate ourselves. So if we look different in clothes than the models we see online, who gives a shit? You know, truly. Just be authentic to your own style, and enjoy yourself. Okay, so I love this talk. I'm looking forward to the conversations that we're going to have that spring off of this. And those of you who are in the challenge, make sure you keep on with stuff so you can get your entries in before the 27th. And if you have any questions, guys, shoot me a text. All right, enjoy the rest of your night. Bye.